Okay, so in the previous episode, I talked about how I believe sales is a superpower for all entrepreneurs, and I focused a lot more on how you sell your vision, your purpose, and your product to key stakeholders, including yourself, your team, your investors, and ultimately your customer. In part two, I want to talk about the 7 reasons I think that sales is indeed an entrepreneur's superpower. The first sort of thing we're going to run through is that it's the fuel to buy in. A powerful sales mindset elevates your mission from an idea in your own head to a cause that others can champion. I think that's critical. It underpins every relationship, whether internal or external. I don't think that it's done in a transactional way, but you're always working really diligently to pay attention to where people are, especially those that matter to the business. Sales also drives execution. When you're focused on the vision, the purpose, and the product, when that becomes a reality, you can sell that in the real world and you can translate that into real results that resonate deeply with people. The bottom line is sales at its core is about belief. It's about belief, it's about influence. And as an entrepreneur, when you can inspire that belief in yourself, your team, your customers, you unlock that superpower that turns the vision into a reality. A few things. So the first thing is that when you're thinking about developing the superpower is how sales clarifies your own belief. And I want to approach this from a sort of why it matters and then the key insights as to why I think it matters. Before anyone can be convinced, you, the founder, have to be thoroughly convinced yourself. Selling to yourself forces you to articulate the value and the viability of your idea. So if you pitch yourself and it isn't solid, you struggle to inspire others. I think that's a critical thing. And then the key insight for me is that the self-persuasion it's not a vanity metric. It's a real gut check that you go through for real conviction. And once you develop this real unwavering belief, that becomes the foundation for why you succeed and why your product succeeds. And you're not doubting yourself and others will not doubt you. The second thing is that sales aligns your team around a shared vision. One of the hardest things to do is to get a multitude of people to see the same thing. That's the first thing. The second thing is for them to move in the same direction. The reason this matters is that most entrepreneurs look for the most talented person they can afford. And when you can land that person, you want to get them to a point where they believe beyond just the paycheck. And I think that's an important thing. You also want to sell a very compelling purpose and a vision that aligns to everyone's effort and it motivates them to go above and beyond. And so when you tie their purpose to the purpose of the business, it makes a lot of sense for how they grow. And the key insight here for me is that when team members genuinely buy into the bigger picture, they become passionate advocates rather than passive employees. The third thing is that sales convinces investors of your potential. I said in part 1 that investors often buy into the jockey and not necessarily the horse. The business is just the gateway. The reason this matters is that when you're seeking sort of angel funding or pitching venture capitalists, you're fundamentally selling them on why they should back your dream. Great ideas alone don't secure the funding. Investors look for a founder who can sell them a story, the market opportunity, and ultimately the path to growth. Because that path to growth is how they unlock their own interpretation of their return on investment. The key insight here is that charisma and clarity in your pitch, those reflect confidence, and that confidence comes from spending a lot of time in that idea maze I was talking about in part 1. And that confidence signals to your investors that you have the grit and the vision to follow through, because entrepreneurship is a long-term game. The next thing is that sales connects you with customers' real needs. And why it matters is that at the heart of it, sales is really the understanding and solving of problems for real people. If you're building a business, you have to make that mental connection between what you're bringing to the market and how it solves a genuine problem. If you can't effectively communicate how you address a need, you definitely won't earn trust, let alone revenue. Customers sort of rarely buy on solely features. So sometimes entrepreneurs spend a lot of time talking about the features, etc. And that's because they believe they get them from real value, right? So that's the critical thing to ensure that you deliver. You're not just selling someone on the feature. My thing can do this, it can do that. You want to translate in a very tangible way why this product makes sense to their lives. And then the key insight here is that entrepreneurs who hone in on their sales approach truly listen to customers, leading to better products and stronger customer loyalty. The next thing is that sales truly creates momentum and growth. In the early days, sales is about keeping the lights on, and every deal sort of propels you forward. And once you have that momentum, you get beyond revenue. Every successful pitch builds word of mouth, referrals, brand reputation, and industry buzz wherever you're playing or whatever space you're playing in. And the key insight here is that sales success isn't just about immediate profits. It's also an engine for market traction and sustained momentum. The other thing and the other reason sales is a superpower is that sales reinforces adaptability. To sell effectively, you have to be able to pivot your message when you have to, or your approach, or even your product for that matter, based on the feedback. And this fosters a culture of continuous learning and agility on your end. The act of selling encourages direct engagement with feedback, and that's from employees, investors, and your customers, as well as your team, helping you refine your offering. So sales really needs to bring out a deep sense of humility, because in the process of you elevating your own product, you have to have a sense of humility for how other people perceive what you think is perfect, right? And if you don't have that ability to take feedback, it becomes problematic, and you lack the ability to be adaptable to new situations or feedback. Sales definitely fosters resilience. You learn to handle rejection, and in fact, if you pitch 100 people, you probably get rejected 99 times, but that one transaction gives you the ability to go for the next one. So continuously refine your pitch, come back stronger, and those are real qualities that an entrepreneur needs. And then finally, sales infuses confidence in every layer of the business. So when you really build this superpower as an entrepreneur, it filters into your culture. The reason it matters is that sales isn't just about transactions. I said earlier that you shouldn't perceive it as something that's transactional. Everyone understands the long-term impact of every interaction they have, with your customers. It's about building self-belief. It's about building a system of self-belief in yourself and in your team, as well as other stakeholders. When everyone around you believes, your business becomes a magnet for opportunities. It's just a natural thing. The people in it represent it in a very different way. So opportunities, partnerships, and then future talent as well. It attracts other people to come and work in the business. A strong sales mindset, and this is the key insight, definitely radiates leadership. It shows you can communicate the why of your venture. You sort of make it compelling for people to join the journey you're on, and they want to contribute to its growth. And so, in summation, the reasons I believe sales is the entrepreneur's superpower is that it's the fuel you get for buy-in. It underpins every single relationship, and it drives execution. Again, the thing you are selling is vision, purpose, product. I hope this brought you some value, and please like, share, tell a friend to tell a friend. This is the Winners Win podcast. Thank you for watching.